This is a lecture from OpenTuition. To benefit from the lecture, you should download the free lecture notes from opentuition.com.
So we've looked at the various options available for companies. We've looked at generic strategies, cost leadership differentiation, perhaps with focus. We've looked at the strategic direction, market development, product development, diversification, cost saving. We've looked at different ways of accomplishing that, merger and acquisition, organic growth, joint ventures, and so on. We looked at maybe different ways of forming a relationship between the head office and the various subsidiaries, like portfolio management or synergy management or the parental development. So we could be faced with a whole lot of different options here, which we could do and which might, achieve our objectives. How do we decide? How do we choose which of these strategic options might be better? And the methods to be, this is really the way to be looking at here. 3 things to look at as defined by Johnson and Scholes, and this comes up again and again and again in ACCA answers. It can be used to make a choice or suggest a choice of what a company should do, or it can be used to evaluate a choice a company has already made. Very powerful, very simple way of trying to evaluate strategic options. And the first thing we look at is suitability. How suitable is the option given really the kind of environment that we are in? So, for example, we can look at the economy. So, an option might be to expand into a particular country. We have to see, well, what's the economy perhaps in that country doing? Is it stagnant? Is it increasing? Is it decreasing? How suitable is that strategy given what's happening in the world? Or we could be looking at competition. So what's our competitors doing? What sort of direction are they taking? Do we want to follow a strategy which might mean that we are going to be competing exactly with them, head to head, so to speak? Or do we want to maybe achieve a strategy which is slightly missing them, so there's maybe going to be room for both of us? We can also look at maybe some of our strengths here. Does the strategy we're thinking of following, does it play to our strengths? Does it avoid the weaknesses which may make it difficult? So that's the first thing. Secondly, there is acceptability. How acceptable is this strategy? And we're talking here to stakeholders. And the ones we have to be particularly careful about, of course, are the key players. Remember, we said the key players, they have the power, they're very active, they're willing to use that power. Key players can just stop a strategy in its tracks. We have to think, how will our stakeholders, particularly key players, react to this strategy? Is it acceptable to them? If a strategy is not acceptable to your customers, they might go elsewhere. If it's not acceptable to the government, if it's some sort of a strategy involving saving tax by shifting money around various countries and so on, again, the government might take action. If the shareholders don't like it, they may again sell their shares. They may cause problems at the AGM. They may ask for the director's resignation and so on. So acceptability to shareholders, customers, government, employees, any of these who are key players can stop it. And finally, there is feasibility. Will we actually be able to do it? And I suppose here we're looking primarily at the M words. Do we have the money? Do we have the management expertise? Do we have the men and women, the human resources to be able to do it? Do we have the markets, the machines, the material? Is our brand strong enough? Do we have the right IT, the MIS, and so on? Do we have the know-how, the methodology to do this? If we don't have the right resources, then it may be simply not feasible, simply not possible to follow that strategy. If we still want to follow that strategy, then we have to make good those resources. We have to buy in new ones. So these three things, suitability, acceptability, feasibility, provide a very simple, useful framework for basically evaluating a strategic option, trying to choose between various strategic options and saying which one you think is going to be best. Of course, you might be wrong. There's always a matter of judgment in here. People look at situations rather differently. It depends inevitably on your attitude to risk and how you feel and so on. But it gives a very useful framework indeed for making this choice.